It's your summer. What the bird is barbecuing.
G'day jabronis, it is the Verd back with you again and welcome to our CPC draft analysis. Not going to go into overly too much depth here, more just talking about, what happened, what went down, how I spent my points, all that good stuff. So in this draft I believe we had 110 points to work with, and some mons were quite expensive, other mons I found to be quite budget, and basically my draft plan was going with some really solid expensive picks, then picking up some really nice budget picks, kind of getting an overall synergy for my team that I was very happy with. And honestly, at the end of this, guys, I felt pretty happy with the way that my team has turned out. I feel very confident for the season. I genuinely think that the Adelaide Zydingos have got a really good chance of putting in a good stint for this season. So I'm going to kind of break down the picks, why I think these picks are good, and hopefully you'll like the video. If you do, click that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and also comment down below about how you feel about the team and all that. But basically, we're going to kick things off with my round one pick. This thing was still around, and it's one of those mons where I've used it a couple of times in the past to really good success, and it's just a mon where if you get the chance to use it, you should use it, because it's just so good. Weavile is an absolute monster in a draft format. Most people will tell you that who've drafted it. I think the big qualities that Weavile has is just the fact that it's an incredibly aggressive mon, but it's also quite decent on the bulky side. The defense is not that great, but the special defense is actually quite admirable for it. The speed is just a ridiculously good speed tier to be in, and the array of attacks is fantastic. The dual stab of Dark and Ice is very good. It's one of the best offensive ice types, if not the premier offensive ice type in the game, running a variety of sets. I'm not going to go into too much depth on Weavile. Just very excited to have this thing on my team because it is just an absolute monster in this format, and very excited to have it as a Stone Cold. I would say it in JR's voice, but I've just come off work. I'm not feeling like getting super animated into it, but I mean, there's not really much else I can say about Weavile. Most of you guys who are watching, you would know the power of Weavile. You know how good it is in draft format, so very happy that I was able to pick up that, though, as my first round pick. But we got to the second round, and I realized, I was kind of torn on what I wanted next. I felt bad, because Abe technically wanted this Pokemon, but it was at a point of the draft where I felt confident that the next thing that Abe wanted in his draft would get picked. He would be able to get that, so I felt like I would be able to get this. And as it turns out, I think he ended up getting sniped. So it was a risk, it was a gamble, and he wasn't mad about it in the end, I don't think. He was a bit salty, but at the same time it was he had a couple of picks ahead of Victini, and it just so happened that all those ones got sniped. So when it came back to him, he could have had Victini, but at the same time, Victini might have got sniped by the time it got back to him. So it's very situational there, but yeah, I got Victini, and it's called Kenny Omega because he is my favorite wrestler, probably top 3 of all time, next to The Rock and CM Punk. They're probably my top 3 right there. And I mean, what can I say about Victini, guys? I haven't really used it too much, but I mean, I know that I can find some crazy good sets with this. As you guys know with me, I don't just go for the standard neutral sets. I always try and find hidden little gems for my mons, and for Victini, I definitely feel that there are a lot of hidden gems out there. I think one of the great things about Victini is just the incredible versatility of its moveset. I'm just going to scroll through here so you guys can see just some of the ridiculousness that this Victini can learn. It has access to just a bevy of amazing options that I think are going to make it a very, very hard Pokemon for a lot of opponents teams to deal with. I was very tempted to make this my Z Captain, but I have chosen a different mon to be my Z Captain because I do feel it is more of an offensive threat with the Z moves, whereas I feel Victini is more of a threat with the choice sets that it can run as a fantastic breaker. But coming up to my next pick, I realized that I had 2 rock type weak mons, rocks weak mons, and I wanted a spinner, but I didn't want any spinner. I wanted what I deemed to be the best spinner in draft format, and it pairs just phenomenally with Victini and Weavile, and that is Ryback the Mega Blastoise. So this is my first time actually using Mega Blastoise, but look at these stats, man. Look at these stats. It's just the speed is actually decent. The HP isn't bad when you couple it with the fact that the defense is just amazing. The attack stat is respectable. The special attack stat is just monstrous, and with Mega Launcher it's just so good. And the big reason why this is the premier spinner in my eyes is because there is not a ghost type Pokemon alive, I think, that walls this thing now. The fact that I can just Dark Pulse and obliterate a lot of those mons like Gorgeist and Delmires and whatnot, and then also Pack in the Dark, Dark Pulse just wrecks all the ghost types, and then even I believe Blastoise does have access if I need to Foresight if need be for the spin. I don't really want to rely on that. But again, Blast is one of those mons that has a fantastic array of moves. I think the big selling point for me was just, the bulk is fantastic. It's a really good, just straight up water type. Yes, the lack of recovery does suck, but at the same time, like, I'm not planning on just keeping this thing in constant. Like, its job is to maybe wall some stuff, but as an offensive mon as well, it just comes in, spins if it needs to. If not, it's just going to start busting holes through my opponent's team. So overall, a really solid mon. I was very excited to pick this thing up, as I do feel it benefits the 2 mons that I already have. And then the next mon was, I feel, one of the first budget mons that I saw. I felt for what this mon can do in the format, and its ability, I felt it was a little bit cheap, and so I wanted to take advantage of that. I felt that it was one of those mons I didn't really necessarily need on my team, but I haven't used it again, and it's something I wanted to try out, and I thought it'd be cool. And so I actually ended up going with Tajiri, the Galvantula. Now, obviously, there's one big reason why I have Galvantula, guys, and that is a move called Sticky Web. For those of you who don't know what Sticky Web does, basically Sticky Web means that every time your opponent comes in, their mon loses 0.67 speed, or times speed. So it's a really big advantage. It basically means that a lot of their Choice Scarf mons that aren't above the ground are really going to get affected by webs. The other cool thing about, I guess, Galvantula is it's just another mon with a really good selection of moves. Things like Pursuit that you wouldn't expect it to have, Sucker Punch, and then other just really cool little text. But also, like, the big thing about it though is just that speed tier. It's a really solid speed tier to be in. Overall, the stats are not bad, but like I said, webs is a big thing. Compound Eyes is also a fantastic ability. Basically boosts the accuracy, which means that my Thunder is 91% accurate. So that's a really big thing to actually have on this mon as well. And its dual stab is also very hard to wall. Like, even a straight up ground type, I do have Energy Ball that I can hit it with. So Galvantula is a very scary Pokemon for sure to be going up against, and I'm very excited to pick it up. It was only, I think, 9 or 8 points, so I felt it was a bargain. But we're getting to the point of a classic Verd draft here, guys, where people in, like, my draft pool, they just left some mons. And, like, it happens with every draft, and I'm always that kind of opportunist. If I see some really good stuff left in the later rounds, I'm going to scoop it up. So round 5, I did not expect this mon to still be here. In a 16, I believe a 16-person draft, I really expected this mon by round 5 to be gone, but it wasn't, and I was like, well, sweet, if it isn't taken, I'm going to take it myself, and that is the Revival, the Terrakion. The fact that Terrakion was still there by round 5, I could not believe. This thing is an absolute juggernaut of a Pokemon. The rock fighting typing is actually a scary prospect, because if it was just fighting, then ghost types have a field day, but when you can, slap on that Stone Edge, a lot of ghost types are going to drop, which is fantastic. Access to Swords Dance, Rock Polish, the dual stab, like I said, of just Edgequake plus Close Combat, like those 3 moves rip apart like so much stuff. And also having access to rocks and taunt, it's just a fantastic mon. It hits like an absolute truck, and the bulk is really nice. Like 91, 90, 90 is actually really solid bulk. So overall, like, again, it's a really good speed tier as well. The fact that I have Weavile at 125, then I've got Tajiri and the Revival both chilling at 108 is really solid for my team. Very happy to pick up Terrakion in round 5. But then it got even better. It's like the NPL Miners draft, where I was able to get like Buzzwole and Xurkitree in round 5 and 6, and these two I feel are on par with those ones, because the fact that I was able to get this guy at round 6, I was like, this is insane. This is actually insane that they've left this at round 6. And I was realizing I was spending a lot of points, but I was like, I can make this work. I can definitely make this work right now. And so with my 6th pick overall, and this is going to be my Z captain for the season, it is Steamboat the Dragonite. So I got a round 6 Dragonite, and I was pretty stoked about that. The main thing that's great about Dragonite is its ability to multi-scale, means that while its HP is at full, it's basically never really getting O-code. The other huge factor about Dragonite, again like Victini, is the array of moves. Like, it literally gets so many options, and that is why I wanted to be my Z captain, because the difference between Dragonite and Victini, I felt, is that Victini can be more potent with certain berries and with certain choice scarfs, like choice sets, like Scarf, Band, all that stuff, whereas Dragonite is probably at its best with like a DD set, and the fact that I can go DD and then pick one move and be like, well, if there's a certain wall on my opponent's team that I really need to break through, then I'm going to run like DD with the move that breaks through it, with the Z move capability on it, and it's really great. As a wall breaking mod, it's fantastic. Defensively, it's also just an absolute monster. It benefits a lot from the webs as well, just because it's not the fastest mod, but with webs up, it becomes so much more of a threat. The fact that it can go like physical and special is just really good as a mixed attacker. Very threatening mon, and as a Z captain, I'm very excited to use this thing. If you do get the wrestling reference to Steamboat, you are a good person. I appreciate you. But what I'm going to do here, guys, is quickly just chip and change to the next part of my draft. Okay, guys, we're back. And as you can see, with pick number 7, I got Whimsicott. Now, Whimsicott, I believe in this draft was, again, another cheap one. I believe it was 8 points for Whimsicott. And I was like, okay, I can kind of roll with this, you know. Whimsicott's looking kind of clean. I liked Whimsicott because it covered my grass and fairy typings that I wanted for my team. Pranks is really nice. Again, a phenomenal speed tier. Defensively, it's actually got some decent bulk options. But again, this team, like, the way I was orientating this team was more offense than defense. Like, I kind of like the premise of being a bit more aggressive in this matchup, in most matchups. And I think the big things that I like about Eugene is the fact that Prankster is just so good. It means that I have to run like maximum speed, and I can just run some really cool sets. Getting access to moves like Encore, Leech Seed, Sub, Moonblast plus Giga Drain, Stab is just so nice. Access to moves like Hurricane is also really good to bust through some stuff like a Moongus and whatnot. So really, really solid Mon. The other really good move that gets is U-Turn. I believe it also gets Knockoff. So it has like a really solid selection of moves there. And I mean, yeah, the 4 times weakness to Poison is a little bit annoying, but there are a few Mons on my team that can mitigate that, and it's not really too big of a deal. I think it's going to be a really solid Mon for us this season. But next up, I don't really want to go into this Mon a bit too much because I don't really bring it week 1, and it basically gets transferred out straight away, but I will kind of talk about why I picked it. It was 5 points, and that was Jake Roberts, the Steelix. Probably not going to use this Mon. I'm not going to use this Mon at all this season because I believe that the transactions go through. I won't be using it in round 2 either. I don't bring it in round 1. Spoiler alert. But basically, the reason I got Steelix was because I needed a Steel type, I needed a Ground type, and I do like Steelix in the format. I just so happened that there was a Mon that was left over from the draft I didn't even notice that my points I'd be able to get, and it was a better Ground type than Steelix, and so I decided to drop Steelix to get it. But yeah, Steelix is just a very, very good Mon in the format. Normally you'd run like Sturdy, even Sheer Force. Steelix is kind of scary with base 85 attack, especially with webs. It can be kind of a bit of a monster, like not super crazy, but it can do some work. I also just like the access to Stealth Rocks, as well as being a really solid defensive typing in general, being able to take on a lot of the premier physical attackers, as well as having like enough bulk, I think, in special defense that you could make it work as an electric type check. So I really like Steelix for that, but not really going to go into him again, like I said, too much because I'm probably not going to be using him at all this season. But we are going to move on to the next pickup that I have here, and this is a Mon that again I was surprised it was kind of left this late, but I genuinely think he is one of the best ghost types, like most underrated ghost types in the format by far, and that is my boy Enyawd. Enyawd. It's basically Dwayne backwards because Rotom is Motor backwards, and Rotom is the most electrifying Pokemon in all of sports entertainment. And look at these stats, like it's okay, the HP is not great, but defensively it's good. The speed tier is actually exceptional for Rotom. That's an insane speed tier to be in. Puts a lot of pressure on a lot of Mons, which is just so good. The typing with Levitate is immense. Like it works so well with so many members of my team. It is a fantastic spin blocker because a lot of spin blockers can't really deal with Rotom that much, as well as just being one of those spin blockers that can not only stop a lot of hazard move, but can also pivot really well, can also play around really well. And one of the big things I love about Rotom is the fact that it gets Stab Hex. Now Hex, if you didn't know, I'm going to type it so you can see. Hex basically doubles if the target has a status level. So you're doing a base 130 stab move to a Mon if you know you Toxic it, if you get Will-O-Wisp on it, if you Thunder Wave it. So Rotom has like a lot of amazing options there, as well as Pain Split, you know, Volt Switch, a lot of really great options. And for 5 points, it was such a bargain. I was really happy I was able to pick this thing up because I genuinely think it's going to be a very important member of my team. But another Mon again that I think I brought it week 1. And the plan is probably just to drop it as well. It's going to be dropped with Steelix in a little transfer that I do. But I'm going to talk about a little bit was Sasha Banks, the Mesprit. Was my last pick overall. Surprised I got it. It was like 8 points, but I had 8 points left in the bank, and Mesprit looked pretty good, so I was like, hell yeah, let's just do it. So I got it. It was decent. I liked it for, you know, the fact that it got rocks, and, you know, the overall stats were really good. Could do some bits with it. It could be, like, really handy. So in that sense, I didn't mind Mesprit. It was, you know, a decent Mon for my team. But, yeah, I don't really use it that much. I use it in round 1, and then I'm basically ditching it. And Steelix, I won't go into exactly what I'm getting with Mesprit and Steelix right now because I don't know exactly when the trade is confirmed to be happening. Oh, it's not a transaction. It's a transaction, not a trade. But basically, once it is confirmed, I will post about it on the channel, obviously, or before my next team builder, I will upload about it. But that's basically the team, guys. So a lot of offense. I am fully aware, and the power rankings guys are going to be a little bit harsh on me, I think, because there is a lot of offense, there is not that much defense, and that's okay. That's just the team that I'm rolling with. But what I ask is, like, what do you have for my threats? I honestly have never had such a stacked offense in my life. It is going to be a lot of fun to use, that is for sure. I am very much looking forward to using this team because I don't think I've ever used a team this aggressive before. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Hope you have enjoyed. It was a really quick draft recap. Didn't want to go into too much detail because I discuss things more in my team builders and my battles because I feel that's more where you'll get to know the stuff about the team. But that's going to do it. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Let me know what your favorite Pokemon is and maybe things you thought I should have got. I don't really mind. But I'm the Verd, and I'm out this bitch.